Jordan, welcome to the Awesome Dad Show. How are you?
My man, I'm doing well. As you can see and probably hear, I'm actually working out on the treadmill right now. Time is our most valuable commodity. And during COVID and during the NFL draft, I'd say that that doubles and triples in importance. So this is me trying to get everything in one day. I've made 107 phone calls today with over 200 texts. So this is my time to relax and talk whatever you want.
That's what's up. And that's what being an active dad is all about. It's about finding ways to merge all your stuff together. If you can multitask, that's brilliant. So having someone—
It's hard though.
Trust me, I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you. So just before we get into all the fatherhood stuff, what was your biggest surprise of the draft?
My biggest surprise was in the first round. Green Bay was at 30. They trade up to 26 to get Jordan Love. And I like Jordan Love. I've been a proponent of his for 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. And I didn't care that he threw 17 picks last year and had the new OC. I like him. But I put this video on Instagram and Twitter, like, your window is now to win. That's your window if you're Green Bay. Rodgers is 36. They've never drafted a skill position player during his 15 years. And for them to go out and get his heir apparent in the first round and trade up to do it,
yeah,
hard to understand.
We'll see how that plays out. The NFL is, I'm looking forward to getting back to sports. Like, I don't know about but having your kids cooped up in the house and there's nothing to do. Like, how is that playing out for you in your household?
It's been really hard. We actually moved out to Long Island from the city, New York, because we knew it was going to get bad, and maybe not this bad, but it was a big plus for us, and it's been really good. I mean, they've been able to do Zoom classes with school, and all things considered, I think it's been about as good as you could hope for.
Right on. Now, how old are your kids?
So 5 and just turned 3. Here. So we had to cancel one of the birthday parties and set up a Zoom birthday with like 20 people. And that's just the day and age we're living in.
It's crazy. It's crazy. We're in the same thing. In May, it's my wife's birthday, my daughter's birthday, and my son's birthday. It's all canceled.
So what are you going to do?
Well, my wife is a birthday freak, so we're delaying the birthday parties for a little while. But what we did is she called the local fire department. So the fire department and the emergency service are going to drive through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your wife's a champion for that.
Trust me. She's been reaching out to all her friends. So like our kids' friends are going to be driving through and like waving and whatnot. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah. That's the COVID birthday party, I guess. It's kind of.
It really is.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. Are your kids like driving you off the walls, or how are you managing keeping them inside all day? 3 and 5, like they're like go, right?
Yeah, we try to get them. We try to get them outside, and there is a beach here, which is really a godsend. We took them there this morning for an hour, but we also have dogs and cats. So how would I say? I'd say we try to get them to do a few puzzles and art projects throughout the day. They have school on the weekdays for an hour or two. Then we do, might do a TV show. And then, about 5 o'clock, it's dinner time. But it's all just like trying to prolong their boredom or try to, deactivate their boredom and prolong their day into something productive.
Yeah. Have you found, I know this is true on my side, have you found that because the schedule is so interrupted that you've actually got them, you're more comfortable with them spending more time on electronics and media? Is that something that's kind of manifested?
Not at first, but I think, the last, let's say 3 weeks, we've been here almost 6 weeks. So yeah, in that time span we've gotten, because there's no other option. Right. That's just the reality of it, and there's just only so many activities and board games and puzzles before they just say, like, I'm done. And, the system has, I guess it's kind of forced us to do things we don't normally do. For example, like cooking. Yeah. We try to cook. We have cooked, my wife mostly, but I've helped probably 6 days a week.
Yeah. And
when we're in New York City, we'll be lucky to do 1. So in that sense, it's been productive because we kind of make it a family activity. We have sorry about that. We have Friday night, like pizza night. So we're Jewish Shabbat. Saturday, we make cookies. Try not to do too much sugar. Sunday, we have like a movie day. We allow them to watch a movie and kind of chill. So the schedule is basically a manifestation of where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying to be as comfortable as we can with all of it, knowing that it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I got to say, we also live that lifestyle of eating out fairly regularly. And I haven't had Chipotle in like 6 weeks. I'm having freaking withdrawals.
You miss it.
Oh, dude, something about that rice. I don't know what's
the rice is great. Yeah.
It's
good. I miss Chipotle. I miss sushi. That's my thing. Yeah. I don't eat meat, only fish.
Sure.
So New York City sushi and pasta, but sushi I really miss.
Yeah.
That's been a tough one for me.
We'll get back.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
No kidding. So being in the broadcasting industry, you probably work from home a lot now, correct?
Yeah, I am. So that's like, I've been able to maybe not have to make as big of adjustment as someone else, because so ESPN about a year ago, when I started doing Daily Wager, which is the gambling show at night at 6 o'clock, ESPN2, shameless plug. They built a beautiful studio for me in the house, in the apartment. Because I was going to Bristol and I'd go every 5-6 weeks. Maybe I'd co-host Go Licking Lingo or go for a few shows, but it wasn't consistent. And they were just like, we'll just build a studio for you. So that's where I do all my hits, 99.9%. And I have a little office we built where I write, radio, podcasts,
Yeah.
So I'm home. When I'm gone throughout the day, it's not like to go to work. It's to take meetings, meet with agents, players, executives that might be in town. That's when I'm out and about throughout the day. But I'm usually home by 5 because I have the show at 6. So it's that, in that sense, it's been probably more seamless for me than most people.
Do you find it challenging working from home with young kids? I know one thing. I mean, it's really hard for me to separate that. How does
really that? Really hard. So that's been honestly probably the hardest thing, is like the whole concept of like daddy being home, but daddy not being necessarily available is really hard, and they don't understand it, nor should they. So what we do is like, we'll say one thing we found effective, what we should probably implement into our regular lives, is like the night before, let's go through each other's day, my wife and I, when we need help from one another. So like today, for example, with the draft, I was like, I went to bed really late. I was like, can I sleep in till 9? And she said, yeah, of course. So I slept in till 9. We got up, we did the beach thing. And then like I had to lock in for the draft. So my wife said to the kids, as did I, like, okay, daddy's here for the next 3-4 hours. You can come in and say hi if you want, but daddy can't really play for the next 2 hours. And there's always like hiccups. Like my daughter will come in hysterical, like, hey, it's her brother. He took my toy. And I have to like call my wife, like, babe, like, can't do this right now, And it's hard when you're home. It's hard, but it's a lot less of a challenge because they're either at school or they have a play date. They have gymnastics, music. There's always distractions. We don't have that now.
Yeah, no, I run into the same exact problem. This week I'm working from home. I run an insurance agency, so all these calls coming in.
Yeah.
And my daughter just keeps coming into the room saying, Daddy, I want to play. And I'm like, and I had to continuously say, Daddy can't play, Daddy has to work.
That's
and
hard.
man, that kind of like
it eats at you.
It does.
Yeah, it really does.
It does.
Yeah, it really does. You feel so badly, and all they want is to play. That's all they want. They want your love.
Yeah.
They need help with something. But that always turns into something else. Like you might say, okay, I could do this, but then there's some other project or situation. So it turns in 5 minutes could turn into 30 really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I actually brought this up in the Act-A-Dad group over on Facebook, and I got a really nice piece of advice saying, hey, before your day begins, just tell your daughter, hey, I've got 10, 15 minutes. It's all you. Whatever you want to do, I got you. It's nice.
That work? They don't know time.
That's the challenge.
Could be 7 hours. They don't know time.
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's the challenge. But, I just try to say, okay, every hour, every 2 hours, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to spend a few minutes and kind of interact, but it's always hard breaking away.
How
Um,
old are your kids?
my daughter is going to be 4 next week, and my son is going to be 1 in a
So
few.
similar. Yeah, similar. A little
Yeah,
younger.
similar age.
But
And they,
similar.
like you said, they don't fully understand. They don't understand why they can't go to the playground, why they can't play their sports, why they can't go see all their friends, why they
None
can't
of it.
hug grandma and grandpa. It's kind of a crazy time.
None of it. And there's really no way to. That's why I said there's no perfect solution or fix.
How are
Just
you
gotta-
handling the whole grandparent thing? Do you live near your parents? And,
No, my parents are in Seattle.
Okay.
My wife's parents are divorced in Seattle and LA. So across the country, a lot of FaceTime.
Yeah.
And that's about it. My sister is here. So we've been able to see her, and she has a newborn. But then they got COVID, their whole family. So we didn't see them for almost 3 weeks. So, but the parents thing is tough because like my parents really wanted to come here and hunker down, but they were so concerned, especially they were both over 60, they're in great shape, but they were concerned that this would be a harder place to be, especially given their age. So they pretty much hunkered down in Seattle and have gone total quarantine. And I sympathize for them. It's been hard.
Yeah, certainly hard on everyone. What about sports? Are your kids into sports and athletics and that sort of thing? How's that played out?
Our daughter loves gymnastics, but she's 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then our son just turned 3. So yeah, like one of the things, it's always the biggest debate in our house is always TV. Right. And so one of the things my daughter does, she's realized that I watch a lot of basketball or football. So she'll say, Daddy, because I always put her to bed. I put Ren down, my daughter, my wife Brianna puts Hayes down, and that's just our system. So she'll say, Daddy, can I watch basketball with you in bed? So sometimes we'll have a game on together, but for the most part, they're not quite at that age yet with sports. Like they like to play with the ball and throw the ball and that kind of thing, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Although our daughter has gotten unbelievable gymnastics and she was the youngest kid to do the advanced gymnastics class, which just began in like February. So that's shut down.
When you heard she qualified for that, how did that make you feel as someone who's had a lot of accomplishments in your own athletics? How did that compare to your own accomplishments in sports?
It's a great question. It was really, really cool. I mean, it wasn't, I think if it was like something in high school or even middle school, it would be even more gratifying. But she's so young that it was gratifying for sure, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, could she be like an Olympic gymnast? I mean, that's what I was thinking, selfishly. But it still doesn't compare to, my basketball career. And like I played basketball in college for 4 years, and I made everything out of my ability. I wasn't super talented, but I really, really worked at it and became a pretty good player. And I can kind of see that in my daughter now, like when she's like practicing at home, her gymnastics are round-offs. And all of that combined is really cool. But I still think about like I had a dream 2 weeks ago. I told my wife that I was back in the state championships in high school, and I went like 0 for 18. And I woke up, and she told me I woke up in a sweat. So I still hold on to that.
We've got to. I mean, those prime moments. But that's one of the cool things I think about being a father is when you see your kids accomplish things, it kind of like brings you back. You get to like have these experiences over again. As a young father, kind of segue out of that just a little bit here, Jordan. As a young father, what do you think the most important characteristic of a great dad would be? What's the most important characteristic of an awesome dad?
I would say number 1, love your kids. Love your kids, which comes, naturally. Then after that, try to be selfless because, it's not just for them. If you're being selfless as a dad, whether it's to your daughter, to your boy, to any of your kids at any age, if you know that in your heart, then you're going to feel a satisfaction that will then make you a better parent. So that's what I would say for me. Aside from loving them, which is, so easy to do, then it becomes selflessness. I think that's the number 1 trait. But there's so many, but I would narrow it down to that though.
Well, selflessness, I think, is huge. And that's probably one of the most maybe not most challenging, but one of the most dynamic changes when you have a kid? Because before a kid, like, you still love your wife and you're there for them,
Mhm.
but your wife is not just going to like fall in the pool and drown, right? So
Right.
all of your life kind of changes. Speaking of spouses, again, being a young father, has that put pressure on your relationship at all with your
Yes, a
spouse?
lot. A
That's something
lot.
that's
Yeah.
that's something that's happened with me and my wife. Like all the things we used to love doing together. Well,
Yeah.
how do you guys
See,
deal with
I
that?
think that's the thing right there, man. I think, for better or worse, the reality is when you become a daddy, and then when you have two young ages, you lose a lot of that time for yourself and for your marriage. And my parents told me this early on. It's not kind of important. It is downright essential that you make time for yourself and for your wife,
Yeah.
for your marriage. Why is that important? Because obviously you love that person. You're very invested in that person, not only as a mother but as a companion. And then two, if you don't do that, there, and I'm guilty of this, there starts to become a resentment toward the whole idea that you don't have this time anymore. And it's really important, man. Like, we try to have 1 or 2 dates a week, Saturday or Friday night, like 100%.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is like, what's the balance between your own time together as a couple, and how do you balance that with being a mom and dad? Because that's obviously the most important thing. But if you're not fulfilled in a relationship, it's going to affect you in a myriad of ways, including as a parent.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges at this phase of life that's not being talked about. When you start looking at numbers and divorce rates and separations and whatnot, it's pretty astounding. It's pretty staggering. And I'm always looking for ways and insight on how you can try to keep the relationship firm, because the reality is your kids are going to be here for 15, 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then you need to continue that relationship with your spouse, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, when they move out, then you get that freedom back. You're much older, and I don't know if just imagine. I'm sure many people have done this, and I hope I don't do this, but imagine a situation where you never really took care of your marriage and the kids suffocated everything. You wanted to be a great dad, to be a great mom. Then when they move out, say I'm 30, I just turned 34. My daughter is 5. She'll move out in 13 years in theory. Say I'm 47 years old. If I didn't have that's crazy to think about too.
I know you're
Man, really scary.
You're still a pretty young man at that point, right? You still got 40 more years.
Yeah, and so if you're not, who knows, with modern technology, blood spinning, all that stuff. No, but in theory, like, if you didn't have that relationship throughout the whole tenure with your wife, like a healthy relationship, I don't really think you can just like start over. That's too long of a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that, my wife and I, we make it a point also every Saturday night. There's no business. There's no friends. That's date night. But what typically tends to happen is we don't just talk about the kids the whole time. It's hard.
I know.
It's really hard to go back to the things that we love to do together.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think it's something that men and women should be aware of, that's something you need to be consistently looking at and improving.
100%. And I think, even then though, like, you have to make such a conscious effort to do it, because like in sports, for example, especially if it's a busy time, whether it's a game, maybe I'll be able to break a story. It's a text from a GM or an agent. You only get so many of those. And so if it's date night, you got to be really consciously locked into, my phone is not going to be an appendix to me tonight, And so I've learned the hard way. Like, there's been nights when we've gone out when I thought I could handle it, do both, ended up being on my phone, ended up ruining a good night. And then so now what I've tried to do is, like, really in my mind plan out the actual nights where I could be phone free.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do, but it's becoming more popular. I'm seeing more influencers do this digital detox thing, which I think is an interesting concept, but in our line of work, I just don't see how that's possible.
It's so hard. I mean, I've tried it. I've really tried it, and it feels good, but you're always kind of wondering, like, what are you missing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you ever feel like the phone gets in the way of being there with your kids and parenting? Do you have to be like consciously, okay, like putting it on silent, putting it away, taking the kids to the park?
Yeah, I mean, it does. And the only way for it to really not become a factor is if I leave it at home.
Yeah.
If I take it with me and it's on silent or even airplane mode, I'll still check it, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, yes,
it like itches. It itches.
Yeah, exactly. And yesterday's a good example. My wife made dinner, and I said, I was like, I don't really need to be on my phone tonight because the draft basically was over at that point. And sure enough, I got a few texts and a couple alerts, and I got on my phone, and she was like, I thought this was going to be a family night. And I was like, I felt really badly, but I felt like I needed to handle it.
Yeah.
And that's an example of me not planning quite right. If I had said I need till 9 as opposed to 7:30, would have been fine. But I thought I could do both. And when you spread yourself too thin, especially in a marriage as parents, it's like impossible.
No, that's a great example, because I'll tell you, if I could communicate with my wife or with my kids on the front end, okay, what the plan is, everything's fine. But as soon as I deviate from the plan, it's like the walls start crashing down around me.
Exactly. And it's only a matter of time before you do. You know you're going to.
Right.
Because the pull of that phone or whatever it is, the game, it's too much. And like for me, you know, I'm covering different sports. Been fortunate enough to do the boardroom at ESPN and be at ESPN and have the pull-up pod with CJ and call him. And like my head's always it's always working, like specifically to what I need to do, you know?
Yeah.
And it might not be like a big picture macro thing of I got to do this and this to get there. That's more of like a general thought process, but it's like, you know, I told that GM I would text him tonight. I told that player I would call him tonight. If I don't do it, what are they going to think? And then I stress about it. And it's really difficult because I never feel like I'm quite balanced.
No.
You know, I always feel like I'm on the precipice of it, but it's never perfect. Again, and then I think there's a quote, like, who was it? Can't remember who said this. It's a great quote, like, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You know, knowing that it's not going to be perfect. You have to accept it, embrace it, whatever you need to do. Get to that point where you're okay with it, then you're okay.
Yeah, I honestly, I say that all the time. Get comfortable with discomfort. It's really, really important. I think it's actually Tim Ferriss wrote that in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek. I think
he's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And I got to be honest. Thank you so much for sharing that never fully balanced, because I feel like I'm right there, man. It's like I'm always like close.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different. It's like there's always something in the air. You know,
100%.
You're always juggling something.
And that's what I was saying. Like, until you're okay with that concept, you're not going to be able to have success. You're not going to be able to sustain anything because you're going to be so caught up and bogged down by that every day, every hour, whatever it is. And that's why it's so important. That's great.
That's great, Jordan. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. All right. So, Jordan, before we get into the world famous Act-A-Dad rapid fire, let everyone know where they can find you. Where can they find Jordan Schultz?
So Instagram is @Jordan Schultz, Twitter Schultz_report. I just created a TikTok, Real Jordan Schultz, Facebook Jordan Schultz. Basically, just look me up. But the podcast is on, all podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, everything. The boardroom you can see on ESPN Plus. And one thing I'll say, I think it's so important to have people you can lean on, even if they're a lot older, the same age, whatever it is. So if anybody's listening that needs help, wants help in their career, just reach out to me, send me a DM on Instagram. I will get back to you. I have plenty of unreads, but I go through them. I actually, that's another thing. At the end of every week, Sunday night, I will actively spend 45 minutes to an hour going through the Instagram DMs and try to get back to everyone else. Because I feel like I had a few people help me. And if I can do that, even if it's not in sports journalism, but especially if it is, I'm more than happy to do it. And I'm obliged to do it.
That's awesome. I mean, quite frankly, that's something that I'm really big on, is engaging with your audience, because you never know who the next Jeff Bezos is or the next
Mhm.
Michael Jordan is going to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. My parents told me as a young kid, and they've really instilled it as, you know, help. I just got to see. That's a perfect example right now. I just got a text from an agent that I've been waiting for 2 days, and it just came, and I swiped it out because you know what? He was late on this. I'm gonna get back to him in an hour. He can wait. So, see, the old me would have just been like, "Hold on 1 second, I would have done that," but I didn't do it. I had to stay committed to one thing. But yeah, my parents told me as a young kid, like, help those who can't help you. You know, if they don't have anything in return to help you with, forget it. Sorry, they don't have anything in return to help you with. Forget about that. Help them do the right thing. It all comes around.
Love that. Love that. Awesome. Well, before I let you go here, let's run through a quick rapid
For sure.
fire bracket here, Jordan. So, Jordan, first question here. What is your favorite story to read or tell your kids?
Wow. Damn, that's a good one. Oh, you know what's a really good one? She likes to hear. My son doesn't really necessarily like love stories yet. Not quite there. My daughter, who I put down pretty much every night, there's a story I tell her about. There's 2 stories she loves, but the one that she really loves is the purple dragons. And I made up this story about these 3 purple dragons, this family, and they need avocados for their house for dinner, but they're out of them. So they have to go fly to the avocado tree, but there's only one left, and they need to let, I always make up a different animal, the monkey, the caterpillar, insect, could be a spider. They need to let that animal have that last avocado. And when they do, that animal says, "Thank you so much for letting me have that. I know a huge avocado tree that's full of them. Let me take you there." So they didn't, the whole concept of what I was just saying, like, they didn't think that that caterpillar or whatever it is could help them, but they knew that that caterpillar needed it. And as soon as they gave the avocado, you know, because they could have like killed them or whatever in her imagination.
Yeah.
As soon as they did that, then they got access to this massive avocado tree just down the way. And as soon as they were able to get those, they brought them all back to their family, and everyone was so happy. And the caterpillar and his family got to eat too.
Love that. Love that. That's like an Aesop's fable type of story. I love that. Great.
It is. She loves it. I'd say that's a once a week solid get you to bed story within 5 to 10 minutes.
Love that. The purple dragons. Love it. Favorite city to visit, Jordan? What you got?
Well, I'm from Seattle. I love Seattle. And it inspired me in so many ways. But favorite city to visit? So many. Can I give you one domestic, one international?
Sure, you got it.
Okay, so I'd probably say Chicago.
Okay.
I think Chicago is just a fantastic city. Food, sports, people, architecture, it's beautiful. The weather is shit, but, you know, sorry, I swore. The weather's not good for the most part, but in the summer, oh, love it. I love Chicago. So that'd be that. Internationally, you know, I'm a big Greece guy. And it's not really a city, but like Santorini, Mykonos, man, that's like the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yeah, Greece is definitely on my list. One day we'll get over there.
Greece is great. You got to go to Greece. One day in Athens. That's it. Then you're done. Acropolis, go to the islands.
Love it. Love it. Cool. Pro tip. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Nah.
No?
Nah.
Okay. If you could see any musician in concert, living or dead, who would you go see?
Beatles.
Love it. And then final question here for you, Jordan. If you've got a billboard that's going to reach millions and millions and millions of fathers, what can you put on that billboard?
Put your family first, and everything else will fall into place.
Jordan said it. I agree with it. That's great.
That's it. That's the one. But if I had more words, I would have some other ones in there. You know, get your workout in, like I'm doing.
Yep.
Read a book, but that would be my kind of my go-to. Like I want to be great. I really do in everything I do, especially with my career and as a father. But you love your family, then you feel good about doing all that other stuff.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I love the mindset. I definitely see big things for you in the future, Jordan. Make sure to check him out all over the web. I got links below. And thanks again, Jordan. It's been a pleasure.